Hey, Sal, how you doing?
Hey, how are you?
I'm good. This could be interesting.
Oh, let's see,
So,
hey?
yeah, so both children are around. They're meant to be watching TV, and I'm trying to get them to go and do stuff. Um, I'm just before we get into the podcast, episode 11, Mind and Muscle Unleashed.
Woohoo!
Um, I don't know if you can see, listeners, like if you're on YouTube, jump on.
Yeah.
This is my child at the moment. She's got my pajamas on over the top of her school uniform. She's got my high heels on, and then she's got her pajama bottoms on her head.
I just love the heels. The heels top everything.
They top everything. And then she said, I look like I'm high. I think she meant the high heels. And I was like, yeah, you do look like you're high, mate.
Oh.
All right. Okay, off you go. All right, so let's get into it, and then I can appease these children.
Done.
Yeah, first off, thanks to our sponsors, so Fernwood Salisbury and Kojo Coffee. You've got your cup too.
Yeah.
What's in yours today?
I've got Macro Mike iced mocha protein powder and some milk. So it's like an iced mocha, so it's very nice.
Oh, you're so fancy. I've got I've got Macro Mike almond protein hot chocolate. So
Macro Mike for the win.
Pardon?
What's in Sally's?
I don't know, but can you go, please? Madison, please.
Mate.
I don't know what's on Sally's top, mate.
No, cup.
Cup. It's the same as this one. Okay?
Inside. Same in your
Okay.
cup.
Yes. Yes. All right. Off you go so I can do this, and then we'll do some stuff. Okay? Please. Thank you. See, listeners? We have to deal with this too. How's your week been? How's your week been?
Yeah, not too bad. The end of it was a bit chaotic, but we got through. But otherwise, it's been a pretty straightforward week. On the last week of my build, so I'm loving that and getting ready for the next phase of that journey. But yeah, it's just been pretty steady actually. What about you?
Yeah, not too bad. Pretty stock stand. I don't know. Actually, it feels like forever ago. So last week, on the Saturday, I actually, because we haven't had one since I did my calf, have we?
No, we did. We had one more one since there. Yep.
Yes,
So this will be week 2 of your recovery. Yep.
Yeah. So I took like Monday, Tuesday, I didn't do any impact classes. Wednesday, I did body combat, super low impact, and then looked after it for Thursday, Friday. And then Saturday, I managed to do. Madison, please. No, I'm not amused, mate. I would like to do this, please. Mum needs some of her time now. Off you go. I mean it. Go, please. No, I'm not amused. Go, please. Thinks it's funny.
Trying not to laugh.
Don't let her hear that. Yeah, so I managed to do low impact combat and attack on Saturday and tried to rest it up. And then I taught step this morning and it wasn't too bad. So
that's good.
My initial efforts and responses to the injury seem to have really helped. So yeah, on the mend, just got to be super careful for this week so that I don't aggravate it any further. I had a couple of so be careful what you put out to the universe type thing.
The power of the mind.
We've spoken a fair bit about obviously healing and you know where we are in our healing journey, and like I've spoken to you about, like, you know, kind of being mindful of the fact that I've still got some deeper healing that needs to take place, and that it's something that I do want to focus on and I do want to work on. And a couple of things popped up over like the last few days, so sort of from Friday to yesterday, that's kind of was a bit confronting for me. But like is kind of forcing me to like start addressing some things. So yeah, I'm not going to say too much, but like for any of our listeners, you know, we're here to share some of us with you guys as well. So actually, no, there was an extra thing as well. Wow, it has been.
It has been a week.
So the first thing that happened last week on Tuesday, feels like forever ago. So yeah, on Tuesday, got to work, you know, normal drop off, everything like that. And then my friend Sarah sent me an Instagram message, and it was basically, you know, hey, darling, have you seen the advertiser today? And I was like, no, like, should I? And she's like, you're in it. And I was like, what? Like, what are you talking about? And then she sent me this article. So they'd done it was like Adelaide's hottest rigs, or I can't even remember what the actual headline was, but it was 60 of Adelaide's hottest rigs, like influencers type thing, and I was in it. And I said to her, I was like, oh, like, what the hell? And she was like, oh, didn't you know? Because she was also in it. She was like, didn't you know that you were going to be in it? And I had like no idea. Until she sent me that message, I had no idea. And so I kind of had a quick look at what she'd sent me. I was just about to go into a class, so I didn't really have time to like properly look at it and properly read it. And so off I went into the class, and I was like, you know, what the hell? And then sort of did my class. I had a couple of classes, and then had a look. It was, I think, in between classes. Yeah, so in between attack and yoga, I had a proper look at it. And I think, I'm not 100% sure, maybe they Googled me or something like that. I haven't actually since, like, I thought, oh, maybe I should Google. I haven't ever Googled myself. Maybe I should Google myself and find out.
Maybe, yeah. It's one of those things to be wanting.
Yeah, so I had a read, like, and it wasn't terrible, but there was just a few things that I wasn't happy about with the article, and it actually caused me like a great deal of anxiety. So a couple of things that were an issue. So they had a photo from the state NBA comp, and they captioned it with like my results from, I think, the ICN show. And then they'd written a couple of other things. And then down at the bottom, they wrote, she's also the best-selling author or Amazon bestseller, Find Your Inner Goddess, right? Which is true, but I wrote that book about, what am I, 43 now? I wrote that book about 10 years ago, Sal, and like you haven't even read it. And so this book was very much it was designed as a bit of a self-help book. And funnily enough, like I talked a lot about self-talk in it. Yeah. And it was kind of, to a degree, like really in the beginning of my healing journey. So it was kind of like I had gone through like a really severe depressive state. And I have talked about it in previous episodes where I had gotten to that point where I knew something needed to change. I was, suicidal at that time. I'd had bulimia for, since I was a teenager. And that was kind of like part of that sort of beginning of my healing journey. And in that book, I wrote about, my childhood. And it was literally, I think it was like only the first chapter.
Yeah.
It wasn't, in my eyes, it wasn't a key part, it wasn't the key part of the book. It was, the reason why I put it in there was really so, I guess, people could relate and knew that, even though a lot of the people that see me and know me would see somebody who had a smile on their face all the time, who was like happy all the time. I guess it was my way of sort of saying, look, I get it. Like I had shit happen to me as a kid as well. And so wrote about a bunch of the stuff that happened like when I was a kid. And, it wasn't, like I said, it was like the smallest, it was about this much of the whole book. The book was really designed to help other people. That was the whole point. It wasn't about me. Like it wasn't a biography or anything like that. It was just, that was like the tiniest bit of the book. And most people who read it, like took it for what it was, in that that was what it was about. But unfortunately, when it did come out, it did cause a bit of a stir in my family, because it was pretty touchy subject that a lot of it had been like swept under the rug for many, many, many years. And it actually caused a real divide in my family, and I wasn't really quite ready to like face it and talk about it and whatnot. And as a result, I didn't speak to members of my family for a period of time after that. And like I've since, taken it from Amazon, not because I regret writing it. I certainly have no regrets writing it. It was all truth, what I put. There was, nothing that was untrue. But it kind of like was one of those things that I thought, you know what, like I will write another book again, but it will probably be a bit different to what that was. So they mentioned that book, and it was kind of like, well, that stuff has been, put in the past, dealt with, and it really just brought up some of those old feelings of things that had happened. And so it took me the whole day. I had like real severe anxiety about it the whole day. And the fact that they put the wrong caption on the photo. And, for me, it's a big part of how I grew up. Like if you did the wrong thing, like there were pretty decent consequences.
Yeah.
So it was kind of two of those things from childhood. It was giving me massive anxiety. And so Sarah actually, because I said I wasn't particularly happy with what was written, and Sarah sent me the phone number for, to get in touch with them. And she's like, if you want them to either take it down or change it or whatever. And so I got to like 3:00 in the afternoon, and I just couldn't let it go. And I couldn't share it. Like it affected me that much, and I had that anxiety about it that I couldn't even share it.
Yeah.
So I rang them up, and I got them to fix the caption to being the NBA results. And I just got them to change it slightly and got them to take out the thing about the book. And and all of a sudden, like I was actually okay, and I was able to share it. So there was that. Then on Friday, again, I won't say too much, but I had a phone call from Maddie's school, and there was a bit of an incident there where she was made feel quite uncomfortable with another child, and an attempt to sort of like touch her in an inappropriate way, and thankfully nothing actually happened. But I got the phone call and they literally gave me like the tiniest snippet of information and went, okay, no worries, and hung up. And I was like, hang on a second, wait, what? Like, did this child actually touch her? Like, did any, you know? And she's like, oh, well, you know, I don't know the details. I can get someone to give you a call with the details. And it's just like, obviously I'm not making a judgment because I don't know her, but I feel like this person who called me is lucky enough to have not been exposed to any form of like sexual abuse or anything like that. Unfortunately, you know, we have been exposed to that. You have, I have. And to receive a phone call like that as a mum, when you know the impacts and the trauma that can follow something like that, like my heart just dropped. Like, I just, like, the fact and the thought that something like that could have happened to my girl, it just, like, yeah, you know, it's a phone call that, or a conversation that no mother or father wants to, you know, have, and information that we don't want to have come to like light. So thankfully it turned out like nothing actually happened. Like she, I was so proud of her. She understands boundaries and she was able to say no, like leave me alone, and nothing actually happened. So yeah, there was that.
Yeah, very confronting.
And then last night, there's another one, and I haven't told you about this one. Sorry, I feel like I've taken up a lot of today with this stuff, but it's stuff that's, you know, relevant. I've been watching Ginny and Georgia on Netflix.
Yeah.
And so yeah, anybody who's, it's a TV show, baby. So anyone who's watched it, so you've seen it?
Yeah, I've done the whole season.
Yeah. So with Ginny, with her self-harming.
Yeah.
So that's something that I used to do as a kid. And my bulimia also started as a form of that. It didn't have anything to do with weight at first. And last night when I was watching it was when Georgia found out about it, and like her reaction and how she, you know, like, yeah, if you haven't seen it, watch it. You've obviously seen it.
Yeah.
And like it full on just punched me in the guts, because for me, I have never told anyone about that. And it's not something that, I felt that I could tell anyone even when I was a kid. So it's just been a few things that I've kind of just been like, you know, I put it out there that I want to go a bit deeper with my healing, and then all of a sudden the universe has just gone bang, bang, bang.
And it's so interesting you say that, because I had a conversation with a friend today actually about that, like how, you know, we go down these paths and we say, yep, okay, I want to heal and I want to work on the new me, and then things come to light that make us do that. And for this friend of mine, you know, she's kind of always tapped into a bit too, like, seeing things happen, then it unfolding, like the psychic kind of stuff. And yeah, she's now being forced to, she's like seeing things happen and then they happen like a couple of days later and stuff. And I was like, this is the power of the mind. And it's telling you, okay, you asked this growth, here it is, you're going to go on this path regardless of if you're ready or not, but here's things to make you act. And you know, it's the power of the mind. It all comes back to our minds.
It's crazy, isn't it?
Yeah, what we put
and
out
I mean,
there.
Whether or not like it's, you know, putting out to the universe and the universe is forcing you, or whether or not you've put it out there and now you're becoming acutely aware of things, like I guess maybe had I not put it out there and that article had to come out or that other thing had to happen, and maybe I probably wouldn't have seen it that way.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it could be, whatever you believe in, it's like you put something out there and your brain listens, or the universe listens, or whatever you believe in. But yeah, it's super interesting. So it's I've been doing a lot of journaling, a lot of mindfulness around it, and yeah, so watch this space, I suppose.
Yeah, no, it's very interesting, but yeah, it's definitely the power of the mind. Yeah.
So speaking of the mind, we're going to start touching on emotional eating, and we're already at 20 minutes. Sorry, guys, I've talked a lot about other stuff.
Well, we can always cover what it actually is.
Yeah.
We can break into segments.
It's going to take, just like your the self-talk and the reframing. It's going to take time to do it. I would actually first off say, before we even start, I know that some people have been excited for this episode and are possibly tuning into this episode because of their emotional relationship with food, and they want help with that. But I would say, before, you keep listening, if this is the first time you're tuning in to us, I would say stop.
Yeah.
And I would
100%.
say go back and listen from episode 1.
Yeah. And a lot of what we talk about over the next couple will make sense as to why.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because ultimately, we've been talking about self-talk.
Yeah.
And you talked a lot about reframing.
Yeah.
And all of that comes down to improving the relationship that you have with yourself.
Yeah.
Showing yourself kindness.
Mm-hmm.
Showing yourself care.
Yeah.
And being able to give yourself good nutrition and being able to train in a way that is good for your body are forms of self-care and forms of self-love, wouldn't you say?
Oh, 100%. And all that leads back to, I think the big thing is it's about our emotional responses and everything emotional. So what we've already spoken about is very emotional, and what we're about to speak about is very emotional, and that it stems from that emotional stuff we have inside. So
and if you're continuing to do that smack talk that we've been, talking about in the last however many episodes, the information that we're going to talk about moving forward with emotional connection and food, it's only going to go so far.
Yeah.
So work on that stuff first. And it doesn't mean you can't start working on this stuff, but it's really, really crucial that you start working on the other stuff that we've spoken to up to this point.
Yeah, 100%.
Which is why we've done it in this order.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's super important to understand, yes, okay, sometimes you can still be a positive, a person who maybe doesn't speak badly about themselves as often as others, or but you still take key parts of what the content we've done holds in relevance to this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So a lot of people think that when it comes to nutrition and following a nutrition plan and following macros and whatnot, and people that struggle to stick to nutrition plans and stick to macros feel that it's about willpower and motivation. And the reality is it's actually got very, very, very little to do with willpower and motivation.
100%.
And so much to do with the fact that so many people are emotionally attached to food, right?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
So the reality is this: if we're looking at this in a logical way, food is there to fuel us.
Mm-hmm.
Food's there for energy. Food's there for repair. Food's for recovery. Food's for function. That is the whole and sole reason that we as organisms, as human beings, consume food, right?
Yeah, 100%.
That's the reason. However, it's not physiological for a lot of people. It becomes emotional for a lot of people. So people get to their 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s and beyond, and they have this emotional attachment to food.
Yeah.
And if you think about like times when you've been super emotional about something, like let's say, you know, you're in a relationship and your partner has done something, and as a result, you've become quite upset or quite angry. And when you're emotional about something and you're super heightened emotionally about something, your ability to control your actions, your thoughts, your words become less.
100%. And I think like you've hit the nail on the head there, because we use food to cope with feelings rather than actually satisfy our physical hunger. So when we turn to eating, it's often like the emotional eating, it's often those high sugar, high fat, or that comfort food. And I guess in response to our own emotions, like, and that could be like stress, sadness, boredom, loneliness, or even happiness, where a lot of people don't understand that part, but it can be.
It can
It's
be
not
too.
actually about hunger. It's about soothing and numbing and distracting
Yeah.
from the emotional discomfort we've got in ourselves.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean, a really cool thing. So a lot of people then beat themselves up about the fact that they're emotionally attached to food. Madison, give me 5 more minutes, please. Yep, you look stunning. Absolutely gorgeous. A lot of people beat themselves up about it. But the thing is, well, this is perfect timing. Can I have baby for a second? This is when the emotional attachment to food started. When we were bubbies.
That's right.
And why? Why? Because when we were hungry as bubbies, did we have the ability to say, oh, excuse me, mum, I'm
Nope.
hungry. Give me a bottle or give me a boob. We didn't. What did we
right.
do?
We got fed.
We cried.
And we got fed.
And we got fed. And then as life has gone on, our parents bribed us with food, rewarded us with ice creams. Off you go now, bub. Give me, yep, okay, give me 5 more minutes. Rewarded us with ice creams, took us out for, you know, ice creams and treats and all of those things. And all of these things provoked happiness in us, or we felt rewarded for our good behavior.
Yeah.
And so what's happened is this emotional attachment to food didn't start when you're in your 20s.
No.
Didn't start when you're in your 30s. It started when you were a baby. Feel free.
Yeah, definitely. It starts when we learn to self-soothe as well, and it becomes our all the stuff we've covered in the previous, it becomes our default response. And there is so many reasons why we continue to do it, and that can be for comfort and reward. So food releases a feel-good chemical like your dopamine, which temporarily boosts your mood. Temporarily is the key word there. And then you've got things like, you got your habitual coping mechanisms. You've got your avoidance. So, you know, it can serve as a distraction and uncomfortable feelings. Then you've got your stress responses, even your restriction rebound. So sometimes emotional eating is triggered by an overly strict diet and stuff. So then, you know, we have that food and then we feel guilty, and that just starts a whole new cycle.
Yeah. So I guess the biggest takeaway, and this is where I think, you know, I know we've hardly given any information, but I think it's something that people need to start thinking about. The biggest takeaway is that developing this emotional attachment to food is no one's fault, right?
No, definitely not.
There's not something that you did wrong to develop this emotional attachment to food. It's something that happened from birth.
Yeah.
And unless we have been made aware of the fact that this is now continued on into adulthood, like if you haven't thought about that, then you haven't had the capacity to change it.
Yeah, 100%.
Right? And you've just kept going on, and you've, had stressful times, you've eaten the food, you felt better, then you felt guilty. And every time this happens, this emotional attachment to food has just been reinforced.
Yeah.
But the super, super cool thing, and this is what's exciting for people, is although the reason for it happening isn't your fault, it isn't even your parents' fault, it's just physiology, right? It doesn't mean that it's ever too late to change it. And there are things that we can do to take the power back and to actually change it.
Yeah, look, we'll dive into that next one on what we can do, but you're 100% right. It's about holding space for that emotion that's in our system at that time. So we don't suppress it and we don't sit there and stew in it. And then, because if we suppress it, that's what leads us into that comfort with food and that emotional eating. So we really need to be
5 minutes, Madison.
aware of our emotions and hold space for them. That would be my first thing to say to you, is hold space for emotions going through this process with emotional eating. It's going to be your biggest takeaway. Hold space for emotions.
Yeah. Because they're going to be there always.
100%.
Right?
We're never going to lose them. It's how we're wired.
It's who we are as people. Like if we weren't emotional as people, we wouldn't form relationships. We wouldn't, have happy moments. Like emotions aren't bad.
No, 100% not. No, it's not. It's something we're going to live with forever, and we need them.
And can you imagine if we didn't have any emotions?
Oh, the world would be fucked up.
We never feel joy. We never feel excitement. We never feel, like it's so important.
I think they're such a powerful thing. You've just got to learn how to work with them. But they are a super powerful thing that we get to have.
5 minutes, I said. Speaking of emotions. I think
now, hold space for this, Kris. See, we're still learning, guys.
Breathe out.
Balloon technique.
Yes,
funny.
Yes.
Oh, we're probably at time, aren't we?
We are. We're at like 32 minutes. Yeah. So, I mean, this is just the tip of the iceberg. Yeah. So I guess a little takeaway for people, I would suggest before we go on, go back and watch the other episodes, particularly the part about self-talk, and just start to become aware of your own emotional attachment to food, and, in certain situations, like what's your default.
Yeah.
And most importantly, and this comes back to the reframing, give yourself some kindness, cut yourself some slack.
You're human.
You're human, and we are emotional creatures.
Yeah.
And if you are somebody who is emotionally attached to food, know that it's not because you've done something wrong. It's not because you don't have willpower. It's not because you're a failure. It's none of those reasons. It's because when you were a baby, you cried, you got fed.
100%.
And
I think a big thing why they're in this process. So if you've listened to this one now, and you'll see this later in our next ones, by yourself, and you want to start being aware, which is your actual first step, like most things, buy a book. And when you feel like you're about to emotionally eat, pause, write your emotion in your book, maybe what you think has done that. So for example, you had a shit day at work, you come home, you're like, oh, I'm going to cook dinner and I'm going to have some chocolate. Pause, grab the book out. Okay, my emotion is I'm stressed. Why could I be stressed? Write those down. You're then telling your cortex part of your brain, okay, this is why I'm craving this food. And then ask yourself, am I physically hungry? 100%. That technique might not work the first or second time, but it will work. That is the best technique to create awareness.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And the more you practice it, the better you're going to get at it.
Yeah, like if we didn't keep, learning how to walk, we'd never walk. So again, it's just
Yeah.
that same thing. Yeah.
Yeah. We'll probably end it there, but
Yep.
we are going to go further into this. And
100%.
what's really cool is you're probably going to go down the therapist line and give us some techniques down the therapist line. And I'm going to give a bunch of techniques down the nutritionist, coach, personal trainer line. So you're going to give those techniques.
Yep.
And then my techniques are going to be super, super logical.
Yeah.
And by doing that, we're obviously going to be starting to work on the emotional response, but then reprogramming to make it a more logical thing. So that's where we're going to take it in the next few episodes, which will be super exciting.
Yeah, and look, the stuff I share, you understand how your brain is making you emotionally eat. So that will be pretty cool because I don't think people realize how much that brain can make it happen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, stay tuned, guys. And if you know somebody who our podcast could benefit and could help, that's why we're doing it. This is the whole purpose. We're not doing it just to annoy our children, although Madison's having a meltdown and she's definitely convinced that I'm doing this just to make her life horrible.
And Madison, notice your emotion. No, it'll be good. But yeah, don't forget to subscribe, guys, like, comment, share, all of that. Appreciate it.
Yeah. And thanks to our sponsors, Fernwood, Salisbury, Kojo Coffee.
And Kojo Coffee.
So that's us. Oh,
Yeah,
guess what?
Look, what's that?
Guess what? I didn't tell you. You've got a teammate.
What do you mean a teammate?
So I just met with my latest coaching client today.
Woohoo.
So we've got somebody else on the team.
Yay.
And her name is Kim. And Kim is going to be competing season A next year with you.
Nice.
So I'm going to have two of you competing. And she's going to be a figure girl. So so I've got my wellness girl and in you, and Kim's jumped on our team. So comp prep coaching with Kim. So I'm super excited.
Beautiful.
To share that journey with her as well. So
well done, Kim.
Our team is growing.
Awesome.
Which is cool.
No, that's very cool.
Yeah. All right, we'll finish up there. We're still under 40 minutes, so we're still good. Thanks for listening, guys, and we'll see you next time.
Bye.